Well, it's been a while, hasn't it? Hi guys, and welcome back to the Emily Knits channel. My name is Emily. I am a knitter and crocheter in my mid-30s based in the north of Nottinghamshire in the UK, where I live with my other half and our two dogs, one of whom has waited until I start filming to decide he wants to come up here. Come on then. There we go. One of whom is coming to be my co-host again. What was it? So close to Sherwood Forest. That's how I finish it off, isn't it? I think that's everything I need to say. I have a podcast episode for you today, and it's been a while since we've done a podcast episode, so it's going to be a long one, and I'm sorry for that in advance. So I won't waffle too much, we'll get into it. Before we do get properly into it, you can find me on Instagram at Ravelry, Ko-fi and email. There goes one of my whips. And I do have a Ravelry wish list as well, all of which will be down in the description box below. I have 4 finished objects, 1 half finished object, 3 of which you've never seen before on the channel, and 5 whips to talk about, none of which you've seen before. So it's going to take a while. I'm going to try and get into this, and I'm going to try and get through it quite quickly, but grab a drink, you're probably going to want one. We've got a mix today of knitting, crochet and some Tunisian crochet. So we've got a lot to go through, so without any further ado I will get into it. I'm going to put these 2 down. It is quite a warm day in the UK here today, hence the dress, but that does mean that some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about, the finished objects, is going to look terrible over this dress. It was either this or it didn't happen today because it's so warm, so we're just going to have to, maybe I will put in B-roll of finished objects, how I was going to style them, we'll see. But yeah, let's get into it. So before I get into this, let's talk about why it's been so long doing a podcast episode. I have been putting content out. I still want to do podcast episodes. I'm still going to keep doing podcast episodes, but there's been a couple of things. So first off, new job started, loving it, absolutely loving it, just taking some of my time. So it means my filming time is more limited. And that means that when I've had ideas, and I've had some ideas I wanted to do, like a pattern roundup, and I did a video about knitting and crochet tools that I would buy again if I had to start over and things like that. And when those ideas have come to me, I really want to do them. So when I have the time to film, I've been putting it into doing those. So I'm trying to make sure I get some time to also do the podcast episodes because I think they're really interesting. But maybe they're going to be a little bit less frequent than they have been previously, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because otherwise I think I'm just basically giving you update week after week after week of the same projects that I'm working on again. Anyway, all that to say, welcome back to another podcast episode. Let's get on with it. So let's talk about finished objects, and first thing I'm going to talk about, I don't have here to show, but you have seen on the podcast before. So I finished my sample shawl that I was knitting for Lauren of Wild Pearl Yarns. And this is the Ashleen shawl by Letters Knits. I think it's Justyna Lorkowska. I said it wrong last time. I can't remember. I'll pop the name on screen, and all the description in the description box, all the patterns and everything will be. So this was a sample for Lauren of Wild Pearl Yarns. She sent me, so she chose the pattern, sent me the yarn. I knit it and sent it back to her. I loved knitting this pattern. I absolutely loved it. There is one thing I wanted to make you aware of it. So I don't have it with me anymore. I finished it, sent it back. Lauren really loved it, and she's used it as a sample in her shop already, which is really makes me happy. That's one of the things I love about sample knitting, especially for a brand like that I love. But she has taken some pictures of it and sent me some really kindly, so I'll pop in some finished object pictures of it here, because I was so excited to get it finished and send it back to her that in terrible YouTuber form, or even really terrible knitter form, because I didn't take a picture for social media, I just didn't take anything. I packed it up and I sent it back because I couldn't wait for her to see it. So completely forgot, and these aren't my pictures. I can't take credit for them except for the knitting that's in them. So this is a top-down shawl. A top-down, is that what you call it? You start with a little garter tab in the centre, and then you increase out, and it's a really long and relatively shallow crescent-shaped shawl, with the main body of it made up of these raindrop sections, is what she calls them, which are like eyelet sections, and they're broken up by garter stripes in your contrast colour. And then the real interest with this, that was lovely, but the real interest with this is then when you get to the bottom of that and you've increased out to where you need to increase to, and you've done all your eyelet sections, then you essentially turn your work, and on your very last row, if you, this is, how am I going to explain this? When you get to your very last row, you've got all these stitches on your needles, and rather than working across those and doing a row there, you essentially, if this is your row, you cast on some stitches here at one end of it, using using backwards loop cast on, crochet and knitting getting mixed up there, and then essentially you knit this way across all the rest of that, and you knit this really intricate, beautiful border that's got picots, it's got lace, it's got cables. It's stunning. And it was like I think it was like a 20 something row repeat, maybe a bit less than that, maybe like 16, I can't remember. And essentially you repeat that across the length of your shawl, and it was stunning. Initially, when I started knitting that border, I thought, oh God, this is going to take me ages. I can't remember this. It didn't take long before I memorised that pattern. There was one bit of the repeat in the chart that I couldn't memorise, but the rest of it I did. So for maybe like 6 rows, I just had to read it and just check what I was doing. But otherwise, I could just go and go and go and go. And it was really, really fun to do and really satisfying to knit. A couple of things to note. So first one is sort of minor, I guess. The eyelet section is charted and written, but the lace and cable section at the bottom is just charted. So if you wanted to knit this, you will need to be able to read knitting charts. It's not a super complicated chart, but if you've not done it before, just be aware of that. I didn't think it was a super advanced pattern. I would think you'd want to be maybe an adventurous beginner could handle it, but there's no weird increase rates or anything. The only thing that's complicated is that border at the bottom. But like I say, once you've got the knack of that chart, it's quite easy to memorise. So fairly self-explanatory, and I think a confident beginner could tackle that. The one thing to note is the yardages in the pattern. Now, it took me a lot longer than it should have done to finish it. I wanted to have this done by the end of March, and realistically I think it was a couple of weeks into April by the time I got it finished, because I came to the end of the big border at the bottom that you do in your contrast colour, and with about 1.5 repeats to do of that, I completely ran out of my contrast colour yarn. And I panicked. I panicked initially because this is a sample. Somebody is essentially paying me to do this for them. And I thought, God, I've done something wrong. I've got my gauge wrong. With it being a shawl, I'd been a bit lazy and I hadn't gauge swatched. I'd gone with the needle size in the pattern. And I thought either I should have gauge swatched or I've got the wrong needle size. I thought, oh God, I've been working it on 3.5mm needles. And in the back of my head, I was like, what if it said 3? And you've just done this entire shawl on the wrong needle size and now you've not got the yarn. So I went and I looked at the pattern and I checked, and it was on 3.5mm needles. I checked my gauge was bang on right. And the pattern says 1 skein each of your yarns, and they're not weird yardages, these yarns that she suggested. So they are a standard fingering weight 400 metre skein. So I thought, well, what's going on here? And before I messaged Lauren back and to say that I'd run out of yarn and could she help and what did she want me to do, I went and checked on Ravelry in the projects with notes that other people had done, and very quickly I found 4 or 5 within the first few pages that said they'd had issues with the yardage on the contrast colour. Not everybody has this issue, so it must be something to do with gauge or something, maybe, I don't know what, maybe how generous you are with your ends when you're breaking the yarn, I don't know, it could be as simple as that. But I ran out of yarn and a few other people had said exactly the same thing. So just bear that in mind if you're making this, because you might find that despite technically having enough, according to what the pattern says, you don't quite have enough. And in this case, it turned out all right in the end, but essentially Lauren had to try and dye up some extra to match it, and then all it ended up using was essentially, it didn't use up a full skein of that, the bloom colourway, which is the white and green variegated, which is absolutely gorgeous. It didn't use up a full skein of that. There was a little bit of that left over, but it did use most of that. But then the other skein, the other colour, the tonal green, it used up a full 100 grams plus probably about 10 grams. No, not even that, probably like 5 grams of another mini that she dyed up to match. So yeah, just bear that in mind. You might want to be a little bit over generous with your estimates on that if you do want to make it. And I don't know if any of her other patterns are the same, but otherwise really enjoyed knitting this, so much so that I've asked her for. Lauren sent me, along with the yarn to make that, she sent me a beautiful skein of her alpaca silk yarn, which is, oh my God, the texture is gorgeous. In the shade Snowdrop, which is very similar to Bud, which is the one that she sent me. Did I call it Bloom before? This is Bud. The tonal, the variegated white and green is Bud. And Snowdrop is very similar to that with some bits of yellow in it, and it's absolutely gorgeous. She sent me a skein of that, and I've asked if she wouldn't mind dyeing me up a tonal in that yarn to match it, to, like a green, because I'm going to make my own version of this basically. When I'd finished it, I draped it over my shoulders just to see how it was going to fit and sit, and instantly thought that would be perfect for work. I wear quite a lot of black at work, black dress or black skirt and black top, and that with a little bit of jewellery with this shawl over, would look absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, I'm going to be making it again very shortly. I'm going to have to do a little bit of alteration to it, I think, to make sure that I've got enough in those 2 skeins, because like I said, there was an issue there, but I will do that and I'll talk that through when I'm doing it. So I'm going to be making myself that quite soon. So that was my first finished object, and that's gone back. The next one, let's touch on the next one that you have seen before on the channel. This I've finished much earlier in April. We're on the 1st of May today, by the way, when I'm filming this. This isn't going to stay on for long because it's quite warm, but it does go with this dress quite nicely. I finished my Pearly Cardigan and I love it. This is a pattern by Lea of Lea McKnit, who is also the Ruby and Pearls podcast on YouTube. If you haven't watched her, she has some fab content to go and watch. She's a relatively new YouTuber, but I love the stuff she puts out, and she is a designer as well. This is, oh my god, it's so good. I love this design. So this is a saddle shoulder cardigan, top down, DK weight, knit on 4mm needles. And the whole idea is you've got these beautiful I-cord details, which I've chosen to do in this hot orange, that rather than coming down your arm or anything, they go around here and then they come up the back, and just look at how good that looks on that shoulder. I think this is so versatile. This would look so good. You've got a little bit more down the bottom here. This would look so good in black and white. This would look so good in a really bright, I mean, I've got it in a bright pop, haven't I? It's a really nice fit as well, and it would look so good in, even in a single colour, having these I-cords picked out. Say if you did it all in black and these I-cords are just in black, but you've still got that sort of really polished detail, I think would look gorgeous. It would also look really interesting, although this would be a challenge to do it in like a plain yarn and a boucle. Just saying, there is so much possibility with this. I've done mine first off without buttons. I've started doing that a bit with some of my cardigans because I don't button them, so there's no point me putting buttons on and doing button holes only to not button it. So I haven't done that on this, and what I did is I chose, there is 2 options in the pattern. Let me come back a bit, this isn't going to work, is it? There are ooh, she's beauty, she's grace. There are 2 options in the pattern for plain ribbon and corrugated ribbon, and I did the corrugated ribbon. This isn't blocked, and there's a couple of other things that aren't blocked because I needed to block them. I was going to do them today because the weather's so nice, but then I wanted to have them to be able to show you on the podcast, so I haven't done them yet. If I was doing it again, I wouldn't do the corrugated ribbon purely because I've got one now with corrugated ribbon, and I think it would actually be a bit more versatile with just the plain ribbon because it would be a little bit less of a statement piece. But I do really love how this looks. The only reason it's curling a bit at the bottom is because I haven't blocked it, but it's so good, so good. Really happy with this. So I knit the 5th size in the pattern, like I said, on 4mm needles, which got me gauge. I used, I've got to try and remember now. I used the cream so this is actually a budget friendly cardigan. This is all acrylic with a tiny little bit of wool in it. So the cream is Hobie Amigo, which is 100% high bulk acrylic, they call it, in the shade Ecru. This is a really nice acrylic to work with. I need to see what it's like when it wears, but it's acrylic, so it should wear quite well, but it's really nice to work with. It doesn't really feel like acrylic. It doesn't have that squeak to it. It almost feels a bit more like a wool, and it's really nice to work with, but very, very cost effective. So very pleased with this. Would very definitely use this again. It is maybe a bit of a light DK, so I would bear that in mind, but I would, 100% use this again. This is very, very cost effective as well. I feel like I got it on sale. I got it on Black Friday, but it worked out about £1 something a ball, so very cheap. And then the orange, if I come up on the sleeve, you can see it a bit better. The bright orange, which also has a halo to it, is Signet Sugar Spun, which again is a cost effective yarn. This is the shade Orange Fuzz, Orange Fizz, and this is an acrylic wool blend, but it's like 80% acrylic, 20% wool, and I think it's the wool that gives it that texture. I don't know if you can see, you can there, look, but it's got a real halo to it. It's a bit of a bugger to work with at points because especially when you're doing I-cord with it, it is grippy, it sticks to itself, but it was really fun actually, and a beautiful colour. And again, very cost effective. The yardage was really good. This didn't use a full 100 gram ball of it. I don't think it even used 50 grams. So very cost effective, and overall a very, very cost effective garment. But yes, such a versatile piece. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. I added a bit of length to my body as I always do. And like I say, there was 2 options in the pattern for corrugated rib or plain rib, and I picked the corrugated rib. But yeah, really happy with this pattern. Would very highly recommend you go and check it out. And now I'm going to take it off because it's so hot. This was a test knit for Lea, but it's now out, and I would really highly recommend you go and check it out, and her other patterns, because she's got some really interesting ideas. This was a bit where I had a bit of, it was weird. It wasn't even a ball I joined. It's basically, there was a really thin bit of yarn and I had to join, and yeah, anyway, that's what that is. Otherwise the ends are woven in on that. And I'm saying that because they're not on the other 3 things I'm going to show you, and we're not going to judge, okay? I'm going to get around to it eventually. I usually don't weave ends in until after I've blocked, because you never know, you might get a bit of movement. So that's my excuse, and we're sticking with it, okay? Shush. Okay. So we've got 3 more things to talk about. 1 very successful, 1 middle, 1 not successful at all. And I don't know which order to do that in. Let's start with the one that wasn't very successful, because let's get the bit that's a bit disappointing out of the way. So this is a story of what can sometimes happen with stash busting. So this is the Bory Tea by Soomin Ahn, who is Dalbrade, I think that's how you say it, on Instagram. And the reason I don't like this is nothing to do with the pattern. Soomin's designs are lovely. They're very simple, quite oversized, very sort of polished and sort of, yeah, simple but effective is the best way I can think to put it. Quite simple, quite oversized, quite boxy quite often, but with really nice little polished details and a really interesting design aesthetic that I love. So I'm very definitely going to check out some more of their designs. This was a test, and the moment I saw it, I thought, yes, I have to go for this. This is an oversized boxy tee or sweater, because there is details in there to do it in a long sleeve. It's DK weight yarn. It's a 16 stitch gauge on 6mm needles. So it's a kind of similar in my mind to a Ranunculus, a Lente, a cognac sweater, in that it is a wide gauge, which makes a very light, airy garment, and also is quite light on yardage. So I would 100% make this again, and I will do. I'm not going to for a bit, just because I am disappointed, but it's through my own yarn choice rather than anything else. But I haven't got over the heartache of being disappointed with this. Because I'm on my yarn ban and because I'm trying to bust stash, I decided I was going to try and push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit. And I did mine in this light blue, which is, I can never remember this. I think it's Peter Pan Petite Fleur DK. It's a discontinued yarn. It's a blown yarn. It's an acrylic. No, it's not. Is it? I think it's cotton tensile blend. I'll put all the details on screen. And this is the shade Forget Me Not. This is quite a fuzzy warm yarn. And I had 700 meters in this shade Forget Me Not. And I knew I was going to be tight on it. Let me pop this on. And you can see, again, these, let's be honest. Oh, am I sat on your tail? Oh, I'm sat on your tail. Sorry. Can't have hurt because you didn't squeal or anything. Or move. So, I'll be honest that the ends probably aren't going to get woven in on this because I'm not happy with it. And I'm not going to wear it. So it's probably not going to get finished. The pattern is lovely. The fit is lovely. Everything is lovely. The yarn is the wrong choice for this. This is supposed to be a summery top and it doesn't work. And you know what? If it was all in blue, it wouldn't be an issue. But I ran out of blue and I've had to do this white on the sleeves because this was all I had. And I don't like it. I don't think it goes. I think it looks daft. I think it looks really strange. And I think it makes it sort of stand out really weirdly at the end. It also, like I say, it's just a weird combination of pattern and yarn. And this is, I guess, the downside of stash busting is that sometimes you might make decisions on things that don't work out how you wanted them to. Let me see if I can show you the actual garment. Because I do, oh God, so graceful. I do really like how this fits. It doesn't, like I say, it looks terrible over the dress, so don't look at that. I like how this fits. I like the really oversized boxiness of it. I like the big drop that you've got on the shoulders. I love the neckline detail. I think it's gorgeous. This yarn, not it for it, and I really don't like those white sleeves. So yeah, I'm not happy with the outcome of this, but it is because of my yarn choice, not because of anything else. I would 100% make it again. I would make it in a plant fibre yarn, in a summer yarn, or even in a merino DK. But I would maybe make a size down, even though this is the size that's recommended for my size. I prefer a little bit less positive ease, but that's just personal preference. And I wouldn't do it with bloody contrast sleeves. So yeah, a bit of a fail for me, unfortunately. I told myself when I finished it that I'd still wear it slobbing around the house. And actually in the camera, it doesn't look awful, especially if I was to get rid of those bloody white sleeves. It's not awful, is it? So maybe I don't know, maybe I'll think about it and do something different. Maybe I just make the sleeves a bit shorter, or I don't know. But with it being a discontinued yarn as well, I can't get any more of that blue, and I can't get any more of that blue, and I'm not bothered about it enough to want to go and get some blue. So I'm already planning, I think I'm going to make another one of these, but in a better colour, a better fibre, and something that I've got enough of that I don't have to do that. So yeah, not the best, this one, unfortunately. But like I say, seriously no reflection on the pattern, because I really liked the pattern and I really enjoyed knitting it. It would have been a very quick knit if I'd just focused on this. It didn't take me long, as was, and it's very light on yardage. I think it only used like 720 meters of yarn, and what it did do is it used up the entirety of this blue, and then it used up a bit of the white as well. So it is quite a lot out of stash, but I don't really know if I can consider it a win in terms of stash busting if it's not something I'm going to wear. So I'm also not going to frog it back, because this yarn is a nightmare to frog. So it is what it is, and it's done, and I've handed my feedback in. I love the pattern. I will definitely make it again. Just lessons were learned here. Disappointed with that. Next one. Let me get comfy. There we go. So this one is also a test knit. There is a theme. Have I got? Yeah, I've got more. I've got way more test knits to talk about. There's a theme. There's always a theme with me, isn't there? Test knits and sample knits. And this is actually out today. I'm hoping to get this released on the day of filming. So hopefully you'll be able to see this the day it's released. And these are released today. These are this is half finished object for starters. These are the Lucky Dip dot socks handmade by Sam, who is absolutely fab. Sam is in my Discord and I'm in Sam's, she's got a crafty WhatsApp group, but she does some designs, and this is one of her recent sock designs, and I absolutely love this. So this was the idea behind this came about. She had a Lucky Dip skein from James Makes Yarn, and she decided to turn it into some socks, hence Lucky Dip dot. So there's two options for this in the pattern. I did the option where you have this mosaic pattern all over your cuff, and you do as long a cuff as you like. I did a bit of a short cuff. You've got an eye partridge heel, which I love. It turned out really nicely. And then you can either stop the pattern there, or you can have the pattern continuing down the foot, and you do stripes to keep that pattern going. And I decided to do the stripes. Now, thoughts on this? I love the pattern. I loved it. It was really satisfying to do. I think I would I would do it again exactly the same, because I did really enjoy the stripes. What I liked about the stripes is once it got to the bit where I was like, I'm a bit bored of these now because I'm crap with socks, I just really am. I basically worked out, okay, for the length of foot that I need to do X amount of stripes, and I want to do it in this many days, so I need to do this many stripes a day. So that made it really easy, because I could just focus on, okay, have you done your 4 stripes on your sock today? No, go do it. There you go. Great. And I finished them and I loved them. This again is a yarn problem, and this isn't a me problem for once. I love the yarn colours. So the white is Drops Fable in the shade, I think it's just off white, and the colour, the background colour, is Beehive Yarn's Sock Club, one of their mystery sock clubs from last year, in the shade En Vacances. And this was one of the most beautiful skeins of yarn I've ever had in my stash. 2 thoughts on it. One, this I think is one of those yarns that look better in the stash than it did in the skein than it did knit up. So it didn't look as nice knit up as I hoped it would, especially this sort of creamy section just doesn't. Maybe it would have looked better in a non contrast colourwork sock, because that's the problem with it, is the contrast quite low there. But the main problem, and I was surprised by this because I've heard a lot of people talk really positively about Beehive yarns, this is the first time I've ever used them, it bled like crazy. Can you see here all this blue bled there, bled up into the top. It's not as bad on that side, which is why I've been showing you that side, but I don't know if you can see here, essentially this blue has just gone straight across those cream stripes, and I couldn't get it clear no matter what I did. It didn't block it very warm, I didn't block it for long, I was quite careful with it. It's bad as well up at the top here, I don't know if you can see that. And I just was really disappointed with it because I was really happy with how they turned out, and I really liked that crisp contrast, and that was taken away completely because they've now got blue tinged white where it should have been a nice crisp white contrast. It's yeah, I was quite frustrated with that. I've never really had that with a hand dyed yarn, so I was surprised. I'll still wear it, it's a sock. I'll probably finish the other at some point, but again, similar to the Bory Tea, once I did that, I was a bit like, oh, I don't want to do the next one because it's going to do this again when I do it. If I can take this off the blocker and show you, like it's quite bad at the top up there. Yeah, you can see there, it's just bled into the white. And yeah, I was surprised by that. I was really surprised by that. So that's something to bear in mind if you're using this yarn. It might be worth just rinsing it first. So yeah, happy with the pattern. Very definitely happy with the pattern. This is just the episode of the poor yarn choice, really. Yeah, not super impressed with that. It's a sock yarn. I didn't. Yeah, not my happiest moment finishing those. But I'm glad they're finished. And then the third one, I spent a lot of time working on this, thinking I'm not sure about this, I've chosen the wrong colours, oh my god, I'm doing it again, and I love this. Now it's finished. Again, this is going to look bad with what I'm wearing, so this is the one really where I'm probably going to need to put some B-roll in because I have a vision for styling this and it's not going to look right with the floral dress. This is another test. This is a pattern called the Susie Striped Slipover by Desiree, check I think is her name. I'll put it all down on screen and everything down below. This is a pattern that's going to be coming out in collaboration with Herbie, but I haven't used Herbie yarn, so this is really effective. This is a top-down striped slipover, as the name might suggest, with this really beautiful, quite graphic colour work. So it's all 2x2, but you use 3 different colours to basically make this effect, and I think this looks really, really striking. And then at the bottom you do your get this words right here. The top you do the collar in the same colour as your main colour, and then you do your cuffs and your cuffs, is that the right word? Your armhole edging and your ribbon at the bottom in your contrast colour, especially this one at the bottom, so that your contrast colour here goes into your rib to give it that effect. And there were a few moments working on this where I was like, oh my god, that red's too bright. What have I done? I'm not going to wear this. I love how this looks. This looks so good and so effective. So let me pop it on. This is going to be warm, this one. This one's going to be... And there is a lot of ends in this. Like I say, I finished this yesterday. I haven't blocked it yet because I wanted to show it on here, and I haven't woven the ends in until I've blocked it. Ow. Got my glasses. Yeah, this looks really weird with a floral dress. So this is what we look like. This looks so strange with this dress. It would look really good with a black dress, but with a floral summer dress, it looks a bit odd. I just love how this looks. I think this looks so striking, and my vision for this and how I've tried it on and how I'll try and put some B-roll in is either with a white shirt or a black long sleeve shirt and some black jeans. This hits exactly at my smallest point. I added a bit of length, so the original pattern is supposed to end here, but as we've discussed before, I have a very long torso, so on me that would be a crop top, and do you know what, if I wanted to wear it like that, it would be a really, really, I mean, that's not even a crop top, that's a that's a bralette, isn't it, basically? So I added some length, and the other people who've added length, it's a nice long length on them, because I've got a long torso. This is the length that it's supposed to be on me, but I've had to add length to get there. But just look how good it is. It makes my waist look really small because of the vertical effect of the stripes. Not that that's what... I don't need to make my waist look small. It can look big if it wants to, but I really do like the effect that gives, and I think it looks very striking with that sort of geometric pattern. I will pop some B-roll in, like I say, because with the black it looks so good. This hits right at where the top of my jeans sits. It's so good. It's so good. So let me sit down. Oh. So the colours were chosen for a reason with this. If you like this, I would really highly recommend you to keep an eye on her Instagram for when it comes out, because the tester versions, there are some really beautiful tester versions. Everybody's chosen very different colours, and the colours really give this a very different effect. So I would really highly recommend to keep an eye on that, because you could get so many different looks with this. I have gone for probably the most stark colours on it, let's be honest. but I'm really happy with how it looks. So let me get out of this because it is too warm for today. It's like 23 degrees today in the UK, which is not very warm by most people's standards, but by UK standards, in houses that are not built for heat, it is very, very warm. So yeah, there was a reason. I wanted something striking, and I wanted to use up some stash. Now I have had to add to stash to make this, but all three, so that the pattern is designed for a DK held with a mohair. What I've used is essentially a light DK held with what says it's a DK, but it's more like a fingering weight. So I've still got the same gauge. It's like a 19 stitch gauge on 5.5mm needles. But I used Stylecraft Special Acrylic. So again, budget friendly yarn in the shades black, silver, and Matador is the red, which is a very, very bright red. And then I held them each with James C. Brett yarn, which I think is all acrylic blend again. It says it's DK weight. It's extremely, extremely, extremely light DK weight. I would probably say it's more like a light fingering. So it works quite well as a mohair alternative, and that's what I've used it as in this. So it has given, can you see that? Yeah, it has given some halo. It's given the gauge, and on those red sections, rather than it just being a really, really bright red, it gives it a bit more of a marl, because the red of the James C. Brett is a bit darker. So each of these has some yarn from stash held with it, and I needed that to get gauge. But yeah, really, really pleased with this. And again, very budget friendly. Stylecraft Special Acrylic, Special DK is 100% acrylic, and it's very budget friendly. It used, I think it was one ball of each. It very definitely used one ball of the silver. I need to double check on the black. I have got a bit of extra because the amounts that it said you needed in the pattern were way over what I've used here. But I've got an entire ball of the red that I've not even broken into, and I've still got some left of the ball that I used for this. And I'm fairly certain I've got 2 balls of black left and the rest of the ball of silver. So I've got plenty. I could make another one of these if I wanted, although I don't know why I'd need 2 exactly the same. But I've got plenty left to use for something else, and I'm really happy with the way this feels as well. Again, it doesn't feel like acrylic. The Stylecraft on its own does feel a bit like an acrylic. It does feel a little bit squeaky, although it was nice to work with. And if you're looking for a solid budget-friendly acrylic, Stylecraft Special DK is a good one. I realise a lot of people say it's not as good as it used to be because they've changed. They used to create it in Yorkshire, now it's in Turkey. They are bringing some of it back into Yorkshire, but I never used it when it was like that, so I have nothing to compare it to, and I think this is a nice acrylic. But especially pairing those two together, this is really nice. I wish you could feel it. It doesn't feel like acrylic. So yeah, very, very pleased with this. Extremely striking. Completely the wrong weather for it at the moment, but very pleased with how this turned out. And after saying I wasn't going to waffle too much, I've just finished objects, and I think we're over half an hour in. So let's speed up a little bit. We're now into whips, and I'm going to rush through these a little bit. I say that, am I going to really? Where do we start? What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm missing one. 5. Let's start with this, which is just a bit mad. So this is my crochet whip at the moment. This is in a bag from Down Duckpool Lane, which is absolutely gorgeous. I just wanted some crochet to work on. When I've not been working on my knitting, I've wanted a bit of a break, and I've wanted to work on something a bit different. And I also wanted to try and look at getting some some yarn out of stash. And I had some yarn that I'd made up into a magic knot ball. I've actually just started making up another one. Some scraps and minis and things like that, and then I've got a couple of magic knot balls that I've actually bought from someone else. So I've got quite a lot of all these little balls that I'm making into these magic knot balls, and I knew that I wanted to make just a completely like full send scrappy project with it, and I knew I wanted to do a crochet blanket. And after going back and forth on some things for a while, I decided on the 6-day star blanket, which you may have seen. If you are a crocheter and you're anyway on social media, you will have seen the 6-day star blanket. It is a pattern by Betty McKnit. She does a lot of 6-day things, and the 6-day star blanket fairly regularly has a bit of a viral period on YouTube, TikTok, whatever, because of the whole 6-day element of it. It is a free pattern, and it is a relatively old pattern. It's been around for quite a while, so I know there has been some criticism of it recently in terms of people don't find it very accessible. I have to say, I find it absolutely fine. It's one of those things, isn't it, that I think California Knits did a really interesting video about this, that sometimes we expect things to be spoon-fed to us, but this is a free pattern, not a paid-for pattern. And I find it fine. Yes, there's some adverts on there, but that isn't actually what people are talking about. They're talking about the fact that it doesn't tell you how to do stitches and stuff like that, but it's a free pattern. There are resources out there that you can go and find. Anyway, all that said, it's so scrappy and I love it. This is my 6-day star blanket as it is turning out. So most people with this, that looks mental with my dress. Most people with this would do each round in a different colour, and I haven't done that. I have just crocheted through this, and when the colours change in my magic knot ball, they change. So we have some big sections, like this bit was quite a big section. We've got some very small sections. You can see there's a little section of purple there. There is a really tiny section in the centre of a different colour of green. There's some big bits, there's some little bits, there's some variegated, there's some tonals, there's some semi-solids. This is for the most part hand-dyed yarn, and it's fingering weight. I think the pattern's meant for DK to worsted weight, so again I'm doing it on a much smaller hook size, and it's going to take me more than 6 days because of that, but I'm loving how this is turning out. So what I really like is that I can look through all of this and I can go, okay, well this is a sample I did for Botanical Yarns. Okay, well this where is it, this blue, find the right bit, this blue is the leftovers of the hat I made for my dad's muscle, for my dad, the muscle bra that I made for him. These two are both in my Yorkshire blanket. These are the remnants of some socks I made for my mum. They mean things, and I love this. This is just going to be such a nice, satisfying project to keep going on. I've now memorised the pattern, so I can just sit and do some rows on an evening. I'm going to keep going and make it as big as I possibly can. And it's going to look absolutely mental, and I'm going to love it. I really am. It's like a memory blanket. I adore it. So I'm going to keep going with this. Loving working on this. Loving it completely. That's that. So I'm using a 4mm hook for that. The pattern suggests that you start smaller and then work bigger as you get further up and it starts to curl. So I wouldn't normally use 4mm hook for fingering weight yarn, but I am for this because you need to stop it curling at the end. And then we've got... Let's talk about these two. We've got two of the same thing, but different use cases. Different people, actually, therefore. So, this is probably not going to look unfamiliar to most of you on here. This is probably one of the most popular patterns on the internet, I think, isn't it? And this is my Ranunculus. Well, this isn't my Ranunculus, but it is the Ranunculus pattern. This is a pattern by Midori Hirose. It is incredibly, incredibly popular, and with good reason. This is the third and fourth that I've ever knit. So I knit one initially. In fact, I'm going to show you both of them while we're here, and we'll talk about them both at the same time. This is my other one. Just make sure I'm not losing stitches, which is a little bit less far on, although I'm not far off splitting for sleeves. And you can see there, that's not a very good place to show you, is it? You can see there the texture and everything. It's this absolutely beautiful purpley shade. So I've got two. These are the third and fourth that I've ever knit. I knit one, it was like one of the first ever garments that I ever knit, and I knit it holding two strands of hand-dyed fingering weight together that my other half had got me. I ended up frogging that back because I was on a yarn crunch. I only had a certain amount of yarn and it was extremely short, so I didn't wear it. So I pulled that back and I've used that yarn for something else. And then I made myself another one out of Hobbycraft cotton acrylic blend, 50/50 cotton acrylic, and that was in a light grey shade and was far and away my most worn summer garment that I've ever made. It was just so wearable, and I can see why so many people like the Ranunculus, because it's incredibly versatile. You can customise it really easily, and it's a really easy to wear garment as well. I just got so much wear out of it. It was so easy to put on and style with pretty much anything. And I tried it on this year, having lost some weight, like I mentioned a couple of times, and it was just too big. It just didn't look good. So that's been gifted to one of my friends, and it fits her and she loves it. And it's testament, isn't it, to the pattern that pretty much instantly, after knowing I was going to get, before I'd even given it to her, because I was seeing her that weekend, but knowing I wasn't going to have it anymore, I was like, I need to make another one. I can't not have this t-shirt in my wardrobe because I wear it so much. So I purchased this yarn from Spring Into Wool. Here and I went to Spring Into Wool, and I purchased this yarn, which is 2 strands of woolly knit held together, not super summer appropriate, I get that, in this absolutely gorgeous colour that is so hard to capture on camera. It's sort of like an almost electric pinky purple. It is beautiful. I found it on the website and I can't remember the shade name, but I will pop it on screen because I would so highly recommend that you pictures don't do it justice. It is incredible. It is so incredible. And they had at Spring Into All, they had a big bargain bucket, and these are like half cones, and it was 2 for £10. So I got 2 of the same colour, and I'm holding it double to make this one. Like I say, not super summer appropriate, but will be a really, really nice winter version. I've stalled on this a bit for 2 reasons. Partly because I've been working on this one, and we'll talk about this in a second, because that has a time limit on it. And secondly, because I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but I've messed up the last row. And does it matter? No. Is it going to bother me? Maybe. So do I need to go back and sort it? Maybe. But do I really want to? Also no. So I might not. I'm undecided. It should look like that bit at the top where you've got, where you've got these. And essentially what I've done is I've missed off the second of those, so I haven't done the wraps at the bottom. My stitch count's all correct. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I am, and there's no rush for this really, because this is going to be more of a winter one. It's beautiful colour. It suits me really, really well. And I'm really happy with how it's turning out, but I've stopped working on that to work on this one, because this is, first off, it's more summer appropriate, and this is for a gift. So my mother-in-law has a big birthday coming up. And we were talking about, we're going for a big family meal. So my husband and all of his brothers and partners and everything like that are going for a big family meal. And because it's a big birthday, we said maybe it would be nice. Maybe it would be nice for me to make her something. Maybe you could make her a top or something. And I was already working on that. So straight away I thought that would be perfect. And I showed him the pattern and the pictures, and straight away he said, yeah, that would be really nice. So this is going to be for my mother-in-law. It's so good. Just look at that. I feel like I've hit the jackpot with the yarn and pattern combo here. So this is Drops Bell that I'm using for this in the shade Antique Rose. So this is the equivalent of Sannes Garn Lena. It is a DK weight yarn. It's 53% cotton, 33% viscose, 14% linen. I got 5 balls of this. I've got 2 left, 3 are already in it, and I'm about to join on my 4th. I might need another ball, but it was like £2 a ball, so for £10 I've got enough to make a top out of. Just that drape. Oh, it's so good, and the colour's really good. I didn't think the colour would be something that suited me, but essentially the way that I'm making sure this is going to fit her is I'm making it fit me, and then it should fit her. I think she's a little bit different size, but probably a little bit shorter than me, so it should work out really nicely. But I tried it on, and this colour really suits me. And the yarn and pattern combo is just giving me everything. Look at the definition of that pattern on there. It's so good. And very budget friendly again, but also a really nice summer yarn. So I wasn't sure of colours. Sorry, itchy hay fever. I wasn't sure of colours, so I ordered this, and I also ordered some of the teal, which I think is called Petrol, and that is a stunning colour. And I thought I could either maybe make one for my mum, or I might make one for myself, because that colour's a bit more my colour than my mum's colour. I 100% want to make one for my mum in maybe even in a colour like this. But yeah, I think she would wear it a lot. And again, with the colour, with the yarn combo and the pattern, absolutely gorgeous. And I also think I'm going to unravel a pattern from last year, and I'm going to remake it in that as well, which was done in Drop Spell in the shade Zinc. So I'm probably going to make myself multiple of these in, I can't get over that, in this yarn, because this yarn is absolutely gorgeous. I wanted something that was summer appropriate, so it was appropriate for the kind of garment that it is, so she would wear it, and also that is washable, machine washable, so she didn't have to think about how do I do it. And Drop Spell is, I've machine washed the ones that I've got already, and it's really nice. It's gorgeous, this. The only difference I've made, I found that my neckline on that was a little bit too tight. So this one, instead of casting on 60, which I think is what it tells you to do, I cast on 70, and I just adjusted my increases when you get to the bottom of here to make it up to the right number, which I think is 90. And it's really nice. It's not too wide, but it's not too tight that she won't be able to get it over her head. And I think she'll really, really like this. I hope she will anyway. And I've had so much fun knitting it. Now it took me like 3 days to go through the yoke, and that was it. And now I'm just on the body, knitting round and round and round, and it's 6mm needles. So I'm going to add another ball into the body, come back and do the sleeves, and then I'm going to knit until I run out of yarn basically, and I'm going to try it on at that point and see if I think it's long enough or if it needs more. So this needs to be finished by 16th of May. We're on the 1st today. I'm very confident I'm going to have this done in time. Very, very confident. And I've had so much fun. This is probably the only knitting pattern that I've knit multiple times, and I've knit it. This is 3rd and 4th, and I would like to make at least 2 more. Go figure. It is an extremely good pattern. If you have been unsure about it, if you don't get what the hype is, anything like that, really highly recommend it. It's such a good pattern. Okay, then we've got 2 more. We'll talk about the knitting one first, then we'll go on to the crochet one, the Tunisian crochet one. This is another pattern by Lea of Lea Amber Knits. This is a test knit again for Lea. Dog hair on it because it's navy, so of course everything shows up. This looks way too small at the moment, but I've been assured it will fit. This is the beginnings of the Lakeside Dress, which is an absolutely stunning pattern that Lea's created. It's a summer dress. Apparently I didn't learn from making my dress last year. And the idea of this is that it's a bit easier to, that you get the best of both worlds, and it's a bit easier to knit than an all over fingering weight dress. So she's designed it to have the bodice in fingering weight, and I'm doing mine in dropped saffron in the shade navy. And then you get to your waist and you do an I-cord channel. That's the way to put it. You do a channel for an I-cord. You don't do the I-cord at that point, to do a tie around your waist. And then the dress portion, the skirt portion, is done in DK weight yarn. So you get the nice light close fitting 4-ply up the top that gives you that really sort of nice polished gauge and makes it all look nice and neat. And then you get the drape and the weight of the bottom with the DK weight, and you also get that it's not so arduous to knit because you're knitting on 4mm needles with DK weight yarn. I was going to do my skirt in loads of different shades of Starcraft Naturals, and I was finding I just didn't want to work on this. And eventually, after sort of analysing it a little bit, I realised it was because I wasn't really drawn to the colours in the skirt and I didn't think I was going to use them. So I've actually destashed them. And what I'm going to do instead is do the skirt in navy 100% cotton to keep it all the same, with cream stripes. Really thin little cream stripes. So I'm much more excited about that now. And I've just been plugging away on this. It is on 2.5mm needles for the bodice. Which, given that I'm doing it in 100% cotton, the recommended yarn in the pattern is not 100% cotton, and I'm finding it hard because it's 100% cotton, so it's a little bit sore on my hands, especially when I'm doing increases and decreases and stuff. But that's my own fault. If it wasn't for that, I'd have had this done by now. There's bust darts in there. You're not going to be able to see because of the colour, but there is bust darts in there, so it's going to fit really, really nicely. You can't see it all. I'm not super far off being ready to start for the do the I-cord channel and start for the dress, start for the skirt, and at that point I'll be flying. So I want to have this done. We go away on holiday towards the end of May, and that's actually the deadline for the pattern for the test knit as well. I'd like to have this done to take away with me because I think it'd be a really nice dress to take on holiday with us. So this is going to get a lot of work in the not too distant future. And yeah, I'm about to join another ball of dropped saffron onto that as well. Dropped saffron, I didn't mention, is 100% cotton, 4-ply. I've used this for a garment last year and I really liked it, and yeah, the navy colour is really, really good. So that's that one. And then the last thing I want to show you is completely left field. This is Tunisian crochet. So I've never really done Tunisian crochet, but I wanted to try it. And I dabbled a little bit in a pattern that I got from Maven Crafted, Rachel. Ooh, I'm going to have to put the name down below. I think it's Rachel Ramo, but I can't remember. And it's for a wrap. A wrap that's sort of done on the bias and uses loads of different stitches. And I've been playing with that and I haven't properly finished that. I almost use it as like a test swatch. And then this is a pattern called, the Trellis Cardigan by Just the Worsted Designs. And I would highly recommend you follow her on Instagram, because she does a lot of crochet and Tunisian crochet patterns, and they're incredible. So this is the back panel, and you can see this texture. This is why it's called the Trellis Cardigan, because it's got this absolutely gorgeous texture. And yeah, I would really highly recommend her pattern. So this is she calls it an intermediate pattern. I'm not an intermediate Tunisian crocheter. I've had no problems with this because the pattern is extremely well written, and then she's got video tutorials in there that explain everything so perfectly well. So she's got all of it, follow her on Instagram, she's got all of her designs on Etsy, and then this is actually coming out in a book later in the year, which I will very definitely be getting. So yeah, really well explained, video tutorials, really, really easy to follow, and being a complete beginner to it, I've been able to find this really easy. So this is the back panel, and then I'm working on one of the fronts, which has this sort of button band bit here. It has buttons on it, but it doesn't have button holes. You essentially use the holes in the pattern to make that work, which I like that a lot. And I'm really enjoying working on this. So this is a 6mm Tunisian crochet hook, DK weight yarn. I've found from what I've experienced in Tunisian crochet, and I am by no means an expert, generally patterns recommend that you, normally for DK weight in knitting or crochet, you would use a 4mm hook, or 4mm needles would be generally recommended. But generally I've found that it recommends a couple of needle sizes up from what you would expect normally. The Equinox wrap did as well. So yeah, this is a 6mm hook, and I'm getting gauge exactly right. And I'm using Starcraft Recreate, which is 100% recycled yarn. This is the shade Smoke. I had 1 and a bit balls of this in stash that a friend had gifted me, and Shannon of Blue Fern Yarns was doing a de-stash, and she had some balls of this. So I got the additional balls at a really good price, and it's going to make... I've been looking for this. This is one of my hair bubbles, one of my scrunchies. It's been in there all along. For God's sake. I would lose my head if it wasn't screwed on, honestly. I am so scatterbrained sometimes. Yeah, it's making this lovely fabric. It blocks out beautifully. I've blocked my swatch of this, and I've blocked this for a swatch of something else before. It blocks really, really nicely. And the weird thing is, I have knit with this and really liked it, tried to crochet with it and not had the best experience because it's quite splitty. It can be quite splitty to, you'll be able to see that. It can be quite splitty to work with. But for whatever reason, Tunisian crochet with it, despite the fact that you are still using, you know, you're using a hook. Ooh, you're using a hook. It's not, I'm not having those issues with it. And I don't know if it's because it's a bigger hook, because it's, say it's 6mm, but I'm not having any issues with splitting. I'm finding it really nice to work with. Absolutely gorgeous. It'll be lovely when it blocks as well. So this is done in panels and then joined together at the end. So I've got 2 fronts to do, 2 sleeves to do, and then I'm joining it all together. But yeah, I've just been plugging away on this, really, really enjoying it. I found initially I could only do a few rows at a time because it's a different movement. Essentially what you do is you're sort of doing, I hold my yarn in that hand like I would when I'm, well, either when I'm crocheting, sorry, not knitting, and you're sort of doing this kind of movement with it. So it was a different movement, and I found I had to take breaks initially a little bit, but it didn't take long for me to get used to it, and it doesn't cause any pain at the moment for me, even in my bad shoulder, and I'm really, really happy with how this is turning out. So yeah, very much enjoying Tunisian crochet, and very much will be doing some more of it moving forward. Yeah, so that is a foray into a new craft and everything I needed to show you. I am hoping to not leave it so long next time, but I'm hoping that, so like I said, we go away at the end of May, but I'd like by the time we go away to have quite a lot of the stuff that I'm working on at the moment cleared off so that I can take some projects away. Realistically, I'm probably only going to take 1, maybe 2 projects away with us because I don't want to, I think my other half would be very upset with me if I took loads of knitting, but also we're going on we've got a suitcase and a weight limit, so I don't want to fill it up, but I'm going to take something for the plane because it's going to be quite a long flight, and I'd like to have some of this stuff cleared off so that I can go with clear needles. But some of it, so by that point the Lakeside Dress should be done because the deadline for the test is around then. The Ranunculus for my mother-in-law should be done, and this hopefully, I mean this isn't due till like mid-June or late June. I've got ages on it, but I'm really enjoying working on it, so I would imagine that this might be done by then as well. I've been really enjoying having fewer, do you know what, I've probably got more projects overall in terms of stuff that's in the background and stuff that I'd like to do and stuff that I'm thinking of, but in terms of deadlines, I've got less deadlines. There are still tests here, but there are less tests, and I'm quite liking having that slightly different, you know, slightly less tests and slightly fewer things to worry about. I'm really, really enjoying that. So yeah, I am enjoying it. I've got another thing I'm going to be casting on relatively shortly, which is another test for knitting for breakfast. which is a beautiful lacy oak tea, and I think that will be really nice for summer. I haven't cast it on yet, but again, I'm hoping to have that finished by the time I go away, because again, that would be really nice to wear while we're there. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the hobby at the moment. I'm really enjoying it. I've learnt lessons from some of the stuff I've made that last month, but I'm really enjoying being able to get quite a lot done and feel like at least some of these things are going to be extremely wearable, and they're really good additions to my my wardrobe. So I'm feeling very positive about everything at the moment. And I'm excited to show you some of the stuff that we've got coming up. I've got some more interesting videos to come. We're going to have a different video, hopefully in a few days, of something completely different, trying a completely new craft. I've got some more exciting stuff to come. I've got some more pattern roundups I want to do for you guys. So yeah, thank you all for being here. And those of you who are new here, thank you for coming and staying and sticking around. It's been lovely to have you. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to catch you guys up on today. I'll see you on the next one, which most likely won't be a podcast. It'll be something different, but I'll be back podcasting more regularly. And I hope you've enjoyed catching up with what I've been doing. So with that said, I will leave you there. Thank you very much, guys, again. And I hope you've had having a lovely afternoon, evening, weekend, week, whatever it is, wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye, guys.